Hello, Danielle. Hello, everyone. Welcome
Yay.
to the show. Today, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to have Danielle Nadler on our show. She's the former managing editor of Loudoun Now. She's also a dedicated advocate for education. Danielle's got a career in journalism spanning several different states, and she's used her storytelling skills to make a positive impact on her community. Since joining Loudoun Education Foundation in 2021, she has focused on supporting students and educators inspired by her parents' commitment to service. Danielle was named Loudoun County's Nonprofit Executive of the Year in 2023. Applause, applause. So Danielle is a true champion for change and community engagement. I'm so thrilled to have you on, Danielle. Thanks for coming on
Awesome.
the show.
Hey, Dr. Keith, it's so good to see you. This is really fun. I'm excited to be here and chat
Yes,
about Loudon.
yes, and I love doing this with you because I had no idea you wrote a book in 2018. You never told me
Oh,
that. Tell me about that. What
sorry.
was that book about?
Keeping it secret, I guess. Well, I
Yeah,
actually, it was like 2015, so it has been a while. And that was pre-kiddo, so I think
yeah.
that, having a
You
kid.
had you had
Yeah,
time
a
before Gabe.
different reason. But yeah, I wrote. So yeah, with that background in journalism, I definitely didn't necessarily think I'd write a book. But a friend kept calling from California saying, "You write? I met this guy while I was hiking. You really should write a book about him." And I was like, my friend Craig. I'm like, Craig, that's not the kind of writing I do. But he's like, well, just get on the phone with this guy. And so I started interviewing this older gentleman whose nickname was Sierra Phantom. And he just has this incredible life story. So as he started talking, I'm like, yes, I'm writing a book now because his story is just incredible. And the short version is he lived off the grid for 50 years in the wild of the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. Um, and a lot of the book really focuses on why he did that and his childhood. And he was an orphan. His parents had died, and he was raised through the foster care system and was kind of bitter, so ran away. And just it really is his story is his life is an adventure story.
Yeah.
So all that to say, it was a really fun story to tell, and it's called Without a Trace: The Life of Sierra Phantom. And you can find it on Amazon, but I definitely prefer you to go to a local bookshop because most of them in Northern Virginia carry it as well.
And you're having a book signing soon, aren't you?
Um, no, I haven't done one in a while.
Okay, okay, okay. So maybe
I
that was
should
wrong.
do it again. I need
Yeah.
to step it up again, but yeah.
Well, tell our viewers, Danielle, more about yourself, a little bit more about your background. Like, how'd you get into, your passion for storytelling and community work, and kind of where how that has led you to where you are now.
Definitely. I'd say in high school, the first class that I ever thought it came easier to me than all the others.
Yeah.
I was not a top student, was my high school journalism class. So I grew up in Watertown, South Dakota, and they actually had a decent journalism program for a small town in South Dakota. So I took all three courses, and at 15, joined the student newspaper, and loved it. Just felt like a good fit. So then that was it. Really became excited about. I love the idea of marrying storytelling, but not creative writing isn't necessarily my skill set. I love the
Hmm.
idea of storytelling with current events and bringing out. Sometimes it's a complicated topic, but trying to tell it in a way that a typical reader or average citizen can understand it. And I
Hmm.
used to joke, like, if I communicate it in a way that I understand it, most folks will be able to get it. And that was often, I think, I'd gotten compliments from people, maybe like the head of finance for the school system or things like that, saying, "Oh, wow, you really explain the budget process well." And I think because numbers aren't my first, not at the top of my skill set. So I think taking the time to explain it well, learn it myself, and then explain it well, ended up being an asset to me in the journalism field for sure. So yeah, and I loved it. So from high school, then went college, studied journalism, and then worked at newspapers in Minnesota, California, Nevada, and then moved out here and we hopped around a lot, Winchester Star, and then in Loud papers, it was Leesburg Today and Loud Now. And yeah, and ended that career in 2020 as managing editor of Loudoun Now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you
Yeah.
feel like, motivated you to get into journalism? Like, I'm sure you obviously had a skill set for it. Do you have anything else kind of that really set you in that direction?
Yeah, I definitely I've always been kind of a news junkie. I don't
Yeah.
always like politics, but I do like a bad car crash. I can't help myself from following it. Uh, and I think, yeah, like current events, whether it's world current events or local, I've just always been interested in that. And I definitely remember sitting around the dinner table talking to my mom and dad a lot of they would they were also really into current events and the top news of that day. So we would just talk a lot about that. Um, so then as they kind of saw a knack for this writing thing and journalism, my dad especially encouraged me to pursue it. And I loved the idea that within journalism, there's so many different beats that you can cover. So if it's like if you're excited about sports, hey, you can cover that. If you're excited
Right.
about politics, if you're excited about art, so I loved at different seasons of my life exploring those different areas. So yeah.
Awesome. What's one thing people may not know about journalism that you could share with us?
Ooh, good question. I think uh, I'd say maybe a biggie is the hours and the pay. A lot of hours, low pay. And not to say that in a complaining way, but just in a, if you invite a reporter to an event, if you send them a press release, thank them
Yeah.
because they don't get thanked a whole lot. And, or if you read an article that you're like, man, they did some good research here. Gosh, they really did a nice job staying balanced or staying non-biased. Shoot them a 2 sentence email, help keep good journalists around because I that yeah, that pay and that hours, frankly, hours was the big one that made me hang it up because I noticed I started getting kind of bitter in the evenings not being home
Yeah.
for dinner or weekends running out and covering things or in the middle of dinner it's like, oh shoot, there's a fire downtown, all right, I'll be back. And that can, yeah, that can wear on you. So I think sometimes those thank yous go a long way.
Okay. And how did your experience in journalism kind of lead you to what you're doing now with, Loudoun Education Foundation, the nonprofit, and all of that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really thankful for how this happened. The previous executive director of the Loudoun Education Foundation reached out and told me I wanted to retire for 3 years, but I didn't quite know who would be the next executive director. Would you consider it? And to be honest, I thought she was calling to be like, can we hire you to run our social media or something?
Hmm.
So she said, no, I want you to take my job. I just felt honored, but also underqualified. But she was great. Don Meyer, she said, well, why don't we hire you? You can work under my tutelage for 6 months and then I'll retire in the summer. And that's what we did. And it's really been a great fit because a lot of in that role as a journalist for over 10 years, I covered public schools or really education in general. So I had relationships at the school system. And I felt like I had been maybe on the sidelines, um, shining a spotlight on areas improvement sometimes, or maybe challenges within the school system. And now I feel like I'm really at the table to help solve some of those same challenges that I had spotlighted. I don't always bring that up in meetings at like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
this change was prompted 5 years ago during this one article. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't advertise that, but it's really cool to be at the table to help solve different things. Maybe one example is like some of the more rigorous programs within LCPS. Several years ago, there was some press on and some good healthy conversations saying, why is it mostly white kids in these programs? What are we doing? Why is the message not getting to students from underrepresented populations for these rigorous opportunities? So then both LEF and the school system work together to create programs such as Propel and Level Up that really offers after school programming that specifically invites those students from underrepresented populations who have incredible ability and excitement for STEM, but just need that encouragement that they can do it. Invited them, and now we're seeing that needle move, and seeing a more diverse application pool that really reflects the overall county student population. So that's one example of something where I'm like, oh yeah, it's really cool to see that gradual improvement over the years of something that was identified several years ago by a couple people,
That's
including
great.
including
That's
myself.
great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And how do you feel, with your experience so far, because you've been with them for 4 years now with Loudoun Education Foundation. Um, things like Propel, Level Up, so those are after school type programs. How, or what are some things like, what's the groundwork you have to do to get the organization or to get those programs, up and running with the local communities or local,
Yeah,
Loudoun County Public Schools?
definitely. We LEF, our office is in the school administration building. Kind of get free rent here, which we're appreciative of, but it's really a strategic move because then we get to talk very regularly with school administration, or various departments, for example, with Propel, I work really closely with the science department lead to talk through what are the challenges you all are seeing, what are the needs, what do you think would solve that challenge, and often it's, for example, that after school program Propel. So then once we hear that that need, or maybe it's that opportunity, then our team goes out and looks for grant funding, or often, like frankly, integrative chiropractic will approach businesses as well who might have a passion for that specific population. So that's been really, with Propel and Level Up, for example, a couple of the big funders that we are thankful that they also are passionate about this is Northrop Grumman and Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. Those are two of the biggies. So yeah, that's kind of how it works. And then over a few years after it's funded through grants or donations, we work closely with the school board to have it kind of graduate over to their budget so that LEFs, we raise a little over 3 million a year, and we don't want it to just be a constant or just a line item every time that we want them to rely on it, but we also want to provide donors. We want them to know that once a program is piloted and tested and proven, that the school system will make it a priority to bring it into their budget after several years. So that's a lot of communication with both the funders and school system leadership to make sure that the programs are, and then if a program is found not effective, all right, let's wind it down. But generally but I think one from 10 years ago we identified the other day, otherwise all have really been gradually brought into the school system operating budget because they've seen, hey, we were able to test this, pilot it, it's great, let's do it countywide and bring it over to our line item, to our budget.
Yeah. So LEF is essentially the Kickstarter program that gets the program going, and then to keep it sustainable, we try to have the schools continue. Obviously, if it's successful, the school continues the funding from there.
Yeah, I would say that's the majority of how our programs work, which has been just a really good way to do it. And then a lot of those big funders, once it has moved off our books a little bit, they'll say, "Cool, what's the next problem we can help solve? What's the next innovation we can help invest in?" Which is really exciting.
So, what are some of the things you guys have done? I mean, I know you've been there for a few years. Other than Propel and Level Up, can you tell us about some other programs that you guys have initiated and how they
I
help
would say
our kids and
definitely.
educators?
I would say, actually, as I am probably distractingly playing with this stress ball from our
Yeah.
field program, that's one that we're really proud of the work that we've done on it over the last 3 years. Fueled, it used to be called Backpack Coalition, so a lot of local folks know that term. We rebranded last year just because a lot of people thought we did school supplies, which is fair. So now it's called Fueled, and what that program does is we serve 2,000 students a week and their families through meal bags and in-school pantries. And that those 2,000 students are at 40 schools throughout the county. And we've done really big things to try to improve the service to those families. One is we've opened in-school pantries so that in we still do have some schools that receive the meal bags, but for as many as we can frankly afford and have staff for, right now it's I think at 15 pantries. Instead of a child receiving a prepackaged meal bag, now their family can go in and shop at the in-school pantry and select food that they want. So it's cut down on food waste. And it also provides more dignity to the family. And maybe, if they're not into the rice and bean option, they can be like, great, I'll grab the lentils instead, or whatever it might be for that shopping trip. And then other really big partnerships that we've worked hard on and are thankful to maintain is Amazon came to us now 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and said, what's a problem that we can help solve? And we were like, well, you can always donate money to, like, yeah, we'll do that, which is great. What else? What else? Logistics or what else? And we're like, actually, now that you mention that, it's a ton of work to get all of these meal bags out to the 40 schools every week. They're like, done, let's do it. So now Amazon gives us 3 trucks, 3 drivers every Thursday and brings those meal bags to 40 schools. And that's an in-kind donation that without them, we would have to buy a truck and it's incredible. So I would say our Fueled program has both improved service to the families and worked really hard to bring in partnerships like that one. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people, and Danielle, you can agree or disagree, in the Loudoun County area, do you feel a lot of whether they're, small businesses or big companies like Amazon that, provide the funds or provide the resources, in that arena, do you feel that a lot of people just don't know that there's a need, or what do you feel like is what do you run into a lot when you are, fundraising to those types of businesses?
Yes, I think it is that we definitely we are fortunate where we live in that there's so many tech companies locally and large government contractors who are generous and want to support local nonprofits. With us, they often want to support STEM education, which is great. But then we are now asking, hey, in addition to that, would you help us fund our Fueled program that really makes sure, the kid's not going to be successful in the STEM programming if they show up hungry or if they don't have that. Some of the kids have lunch at like 10:30 a.m. the way the scheduling is.
Yeah.
Well, let's give them a snack at 2 p.m. so they can, be successful for the rest of the day. Um, so that's really been, I think, us just being bold enough to ask that beyond the things that, yes, I know you all want to invest in your future workforce. Would you also help us invest in student health and well-being to ensure that they have that holistic support? And I think the other point or to your other point, that idea that sometimes if we apply for a grant, if they don't know us and our story and some of the specifics of the different neighborhoods in the county, they may just the general what's it called, the median household income, they may throw our application out pretty quickly. So we're really trying to focus on, instead of requesting funds for like to cover the whole county, instead, hey, let's just look at Leesburg Elementary, or let's just look at Sugarland Elementary. Here's the student body makeup. And we often get raised eyebrows of, wow, over 70% of the students at the school are economically disadvantaged, are English learners. How can we help? So we really are trying to not focus on that big percentage for the county, because it's like, yeah, those aren't the families we're serving actually. But
Yeah.
let's look at this one school, this one classroom, and what the need is. So we really worked hard to tell that story.
And I think that's one thing. I mean, I didn't even know that there were so many. because it's such an affluent area here in Loudoun County, that there are those specific communities that are underserved and, economically challenged. What are some of the biggest changes you've seen, in the nonprofit arena since, in recent years? And, how do you feel like that affects the communities?
Yeah, they're definitely, I feel like from where we're sitting, there has been just a lot of new nonprofits coming online
Hmm.
because, like you said, there is a lot of need in Loudoun, but there's a lot of folks who do have the time and resources to help. So it's really cool to see people coming together to do what they can to help. I will say on our part, we worked really hard to work on the communication, especially on the student food providers front, to ensure that there's not any duplication of services. So LEF now holds regular roundtables with any church or family or whoever has started a nonprofit to serve local schools, to serve students at those schools, just to make sure we're all communicating on, okay, you've got Sugarland, cool, then we've got, just because it's great that everyone wants to jump in and help, and there doesn't have, I'm glad that there's multiple because LEF currently we can't afford to do all 100 of the schools. We are the largest by far, but all that to say, we're really thankful for churches such as St. Matthew's or Galilee that say, hey, we can take the three in our neighborhood. But all that to say, as more nonprofits pop up, I'm thankful that we can all, when we see a new one, we're like, hey, you got to come to this roundtable so that to make sure we're sharing best practices and that there's not duplicating of services. Yes.
So it's been effective to just be able to communicate with the other nonprofits, so we're able to leverage the abundance of resources we have in Loudoun County.
Yes, definitely. And I will say that as more nonprofits pop up, it is more nonprofits going after the same pool or pie of grant funding. So
Uh-huh.
sometimes that's tricky, but you just have to make the case. Yeah.
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 What would you like to see more of, Danielle? Whether it's, from the nonprofits in the area, or maybe it's, the local businesses, or even maybe, some of your media connections. What is something that, you would like to see more of?
In terms of support for the nonprofit community.
Yeah, or support, or like you said, sometimes it's not always money. Sometimes, like the Amazon trucks might be more
Oh,
helpful, or
yes.
like, what do you feel like, I mean, based off what you're saying, it sounds like, there's more nonprofits coming up, there's more help, we have the resources in this area, how could we maybe be more effective, or, what do you feel like, yeah, you'd like to see more
Definitely.
of, or more effectively and efficiently, help the communities that we serve?
Yes. No, great question. I think a biggie is if you see a need or want to help, instead of starting your own nonprofit, hop on loudouncares.org, and they are an amazing nonprofit, but their whole role is really to be a connector between those who want to help and then organizations that need help. So you can hop on there and plug in. I want to volunteer like every Tuesday, LEF's fuel program. We have meal packing nights. And on Wednesdays, we need help driving some of the food to the pantries. But you can go to loudouncares.org, say what you can offer, whether it's whatever resources that might be, time, talent, or treasure, and then they'll connect you with opportunities. And that's always helpful because there are so many nonprofits in the community. The need you see, there most likely is already someone working on meeting that. So partner with them to make it more effective. That would be, I think all the nonprofit leaders in the county would say the same thing because that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So just partner with the ones that are already established and help them be more effective.
I think that's a good first step. And if you do hop on loudouncares.org and you don't see the nonprofit that you're talking to or thinking about starting, the other idea is to go to the Community Foundation for Loudoun. They will let you know for sure. They're an umbrella for all the nonprofit organizations. And then if you still don't see it, start, start it, get it rolling.
Yeah.
But there's like hundreds in the county. So odds are there might be someone already doing it. So, hey, join their board or see how you can help support their work.
Sure. Now, with the holidays coming up, I know that's a huge time of year for nonprofits and things like that. Um, do you guys also, because I know you guys got different programs like Fueled, Level Up, you've got we haven't talked about the teacher
Scholarship.
a teacher scholarship as well that
Yeah.
you guys do. Um, How do you guys navigate? Because I'm sure in the holidays, I'm anticipating that you guys get an abundance of support during those times. How do you guys handle when it's not the holidays on off times of the year to kind of just keep people engaged and keep those programs running and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Our team, I'm really thankful. We have a team of five of us total, and they're really creative. One has an MFA in design, so we really think creatively, quite literally, on how to get people engaged throughout the year. So we'll do snack drives or hygiene drives. We'll make it something specific, and we make it really easy for people to hop on our website and download a flyer that they can post on social or post on the office fridge. So we really try to make it easy for people to hold neighborhood drives or food drives within their neighborhood. But something recently that the team just came up with, and the high school guidance counselors are excited about it. We're going to ask if each student clubs at each of the 17 high schools would just hold a drive for one thing, to make it really straightforward. And it could be like, okay, everyone at this school through the month of November is bringing in pinto beans. So they have stacks of pinto beans, or okay, Tuscarora High School, your cans of tuna, or whatever it might be. So that's an idea that we thought of that the student club leaders are really excited about, and they're thinking of like funny memes to like bring in the beans, or I don't know. So they're going to come up with something funny and make it
Yeah.
engaging. But that I liked that idea to get students involved. Um, Otherwise, yeah, summer we'll try to encourage people to do drives as well. And then to be honest, otherwise we just like budget really carefully. And each month, even each week, we're looking at, especially for that program, the costs, because every week it fluctuates. Each school, through an app actually that we recently were able to create, each school family liaison says how many meal bags or how many pantry items they need for the following week. So it's hard to know in 3 months how much we might grow by, because each week those numbers can fluctuate. So all that to say, we just watch really carefully as the numbers in the last year, they've gone up 33%, the need and the request from us. So we just try to really budget, hit the streets on fundraising, and make sure that we can make it to the end of the year, and be able to say yes to all those students.
And so with those fundraising efforts, I mean, you guys have done a great job, infiltrating the local community. And I'm always interested to learn how other industries go about doing that. So what do you feel like has been really influential for you to, build that community of fundraising,
Mhm.
or connect with those business owners or the Amazons in the area that, are generous enough to give you guys the funds to, supply the needs that these demands that sound like they're just increasing each year.
Well, can I give the example of Give Tuesday?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, integrative chiropractic. But it's been such a success story and a great example of, because frankly, like the AWSs and the Googles, um, they can write big checks, and we're
Yeah.
thankful for that. But it really is, we want to engage those mom and pop businesses, or even the local orthodontist office, whatever it might be, to get them to, I think they're also generous, but we also want to get them excited about the local public schools, knowing that when the public school system is doing well, the business community does well, and vice versa. We really see that synergy. Um, so all that to say, a few years ago, I came to Dr. Keith, my favorite chiropractor, and said, "Hey, we just started a new scholarship called the Diversifying Teacher Workforce." Um, to send future educators to college. Um, could we think of some creative fundraising ideas? So Dr. Keith said, we're in for a very generous dollar amount. And then he called all of his friends, text, and we got, what would you say, dentists, landscaping companies, a lot of like, it's not the AWSs. We've got other asks into AWS, but how do we get some of these local businesses engaged? And to be honest, it's really fun to shout their praises because people can shop. We can be like, go to that bookstore. They donated this to us. Like, go support these local guys. And that's just been we've fundraised over the last 3 years. Each year we've fundraised more than 20K, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think one year we raised close to 30K for that scholarship. And we've been able to send to grant 3 future educators every year with that scholarship, and it's $12,000. So it's a hefty scholarship. But anyway, Dr. Keith, thank you for your team's work in that, but also the creativity of like, hey, let's just ask 10 of my friends and see what they think. And we had a boxing gym.
Yeah, yeah, I think Dr. Bobbio, Dr. Claustro,
Yeah.
Darren and Michelle Alday from Hotworks, they donated, I
Nice.
believe,
That works.
right? Yeah,
Yep.
Hotworks donated, Rumble donated.
Rumble
Rumble was the
boxing gym.
boxing. Yeah, I mean, I essentially, um, yeah, it was just kind of the power of relationship, right? I was just like, hey, we're going to be donating. And obviously, a lot of those business owners have kids, and their kids are also in Loudoun County schools. So just like you're saying, if the schools are doing better, the kids are doing better. If the, school systems and the kids are doing better and the teachers are doing better, but it just helps everybody. Can you tell us more about your diversifying the teacher workforce and the research behind that and why that's so important?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the things we raise funds for, we really work closely with school system leadership. And on that one, we were talking with the head of HR saying, what's your biggest challenge? And of course, teacher retention, so we're raising funds for some teacher mentoring programs. But then she also said, we really need help getting LCPS graduates and teachers assistants who aren't certified teachers yet. They still need that degree. We would love to get them into the classroom. It's kind of like grow your own. So that's what we came up with. And not to mention, she also pointed out that the LCPS teacher workforce does not reflect the racial makeup of the student body. She's like, I'd also love to move the needle on that. And actually, I'm not going to be able to cite the source because it's been a little while since I saw it, but that all students of any race benefit from my diverse teaching staff, which is really, it's like, cool, let's do this. So it would solve a couple of major problems here. So that's been really huge and kind of cool. LCPS has a teacher cadet program. So it's students starting in high school who've identified, I want to be a future teacher. They're in this program, and when they go through it, they have a commitment from LCPS to at minimum get a job interview, most likely hire outside of something big going down, once they go off and get their degree. So that, coupled with us helping fund some of those scholarships for students in need, it's like, hey, come on back to Loudoun and teach. That's the message that we want to send.
Sure. Awesome. Have you guys seen with, COVID, I know that was pretty difficult on the teachers. Have you seen any changes within the program since then, or have you seen a huge um, or a higher demand for those types of programs or um,
For
anything like that?
teacher improvement or for students wanting to be teachers?
Both or either, yeah.
Good question. I don't know on the students wanting to be teachers, if they're seeing that change. I know teacher retention, it really dipped
Yeah.
after COVID and during COVID. In the last year and a half, because I work closely with the woman who oversees the teaching mentoring program, she's seen big improvements in the last year, which is huge because we needed some good numbers to prove our case that teacher mentoring works. And she's worked really hard on creating this comprehensive mentoring program where it's experienced teachers. Every teacher in their first 3 years of teaching will get paired with an experienced mentor. So she's seen a big improvement there with retention, just knowing, hey, I've got someone within my same subject area who I can call and lean on. That's my good.
Yeah. So the programs, yeah, I mean, that was kind of I have heard obviously COVID was very difficult for the teachers. So it sounds like the teacher retention program can help or give teachers that support that they need if
Yeah.
they're struggling.
One other thing that we've done more recently is the SHINE program, which stands for Spotlighting Heroes in Education. And anyone can nominate an LCPS employee for a SHINE award for going above and beyond their job. And every month, LEF surprises one of those nominees with, we try to choose one that really went above and beyond. We surprise them with a gift of $500 value or more, and we show up with a superintendent and balloons and the gift to just make them feel encouraged and seen. And that's been a really fun one. And actually, another great way to get the local businesses involved, because it's $500 is the sponsorship amount, so it's not too big of a lift. But then they get to show up, thank an educator, give them examples of gifts we've done is like VIP CAPS tickets or a winery weekend with an Airbnb stay. We try to call the school staff beforehand the teacher doesn't know. We'll say, what are they into? What are they excited about? And then we'll try to get a gift that's something they'd really love. So that's another fun way to get involved.
Danielle, you never told me about that one because guess what all teachers need is probably some wellness care. They're so,
Seriously, good call.
maybe you should ask Dr. Keith for a little wellness
Okay,
package
I'm
to, I
gonna
mean,
ask
do you,
you.
if they're winning the Shine Award, they might as well get some chiropractic care,
I love it. I
you
think
know?
that would be great.
Yeah.
Especially, oh man, like my son's a kindergartner, and the amount of times that she's like, has a kid on her lap while she's reading or leaning down, I'm like, oh yeah, she
Yeah,
needs some chiropractic care.
for sure, for sure.
I
All
love
right.
it.
Well, we're going to switch gears. I want to talk about Tails and Ales. So,
Okay.
for everyone that is listening, Danielle's also involved in is Tails and Ales a nonprofit as well?
It's technically not
Okay.
just easier, but we do every show we donate all of our any proceeds after our expenses to a different nonprofit of the um different nonprofit each show.
Okay. So tell us about Tails and Nails and kind of the background of how that got created. I just love it and kind
Yeah,
of how it's going now.
definitely. Yeah, we're just having so much fun with it, to be honest. Um, 6 years ago, or no, I don't know, 6.5 years ago, I posted on Facebook just like a quick idea that I didn't really think through much, to be honest, of would anyone be into a storytelling night? And I pictured friends gathered at like a coffee shop or maybe a brewery. And by that very day, over 50 people commented. Like, I went to work, and came back. I'm like, oh my word, okay, I think people are into the idea. And people were saying, hey, we'd love to sponsor. Old Ox Brewery was like, we'll host. You should call it Tails and Ales. Like, all these things that I just couldn't believe. Like, wait, sponsors? This is
Uh,
much bigger than I pictured. So we did, I just thought it would be one show at Old Ox Brewery, July 2018, and it was packed. Like people standing in the back because we didn't sell tickets. We didn't know what we were doing. And it was just in-kind donation for, I think that show was Loud and Hungry Relief. Uh, so after that, the brewery was like, okay, I think you need to sell tickets because you need to limit, you know how many people are coming. And since then we do 4 shows a year outside of 2020, of course. And each show we get 2 sponsors to help cover some costs, and then the rest of the ticket sales we donate to a different nonprofit each month. The next one, depending on when this airs, the next one's November 15th. And actually, we're also benefiting Loud and Hungry Relief because we haven't done that for 6 years. So I'm like, we're due for another. They're a great partner of LEFs as well. So that should be fun.
and um how tell people how kind of Tails and Nails works. Like, I
Yeah,
think it's so fun.
good point. Good point. So you audition, and it's a friendly audition. There's just three judges. There's no audience, and you pitch us like a 4-ish minute version of your story, and it needs to be a true story that from your perspective that you experienced. So it can't be like 4 generations ago someone did this thing in my family. It needs to be like
Right.
Danielle or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Um, and then we try to curate the show so it's a good mix of stories, and we choose generally the top 7 to perform during the show. And we do a rehearsal ahead of it, so that by showtime the storytellers are ready to roll, and it really is a good production. We have walk-on music and lighting and professional sound, professional video recording. If you want to check it out, all of our stories are up on the Tails and Nails YouTube channel, and it really has become a fun community event. And just to share, it's kind of cool because some people say, well, my story is probably too serious or sad, or my story is probably too uh, sometimes they'll think it's too inappropriate. I'm like, probably not. We really have had a variety. We've had, we'll have everything from, I actually told our story about our adoption journey, and it ends happy, but it's a little sad in the middle. But then we've also had stories of dating snafus that, everyone's rolling in the audience. It's so funny. So we really, you never know. We're probably into it, but our whole thing is, yeah, like everyone has a story to tell, and here's your chance. Come check it
What
out. So yeah, it
what
should be fun.
what a great testament to community. How I mean, because it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger each year. I mean, I know that we've been multiple times, and I'm always just amazed at how many people, like, how do you feel that community has grown around just the Tails and Nails? Have you guys done a lot of things around it, or do you think it was like, I mean, obviously you just initially to start it, you just made a post and people were obviously
Yeah,
over
let's go
head
check
over
this
heels
out.
over it, but over the years have um you've definitely gotten more community engagement from what it looks like.
Yeah, I think we sell out every show now, and I would say since COVID, we've sold out every show. Um,
Hmm.
and I think as certain people are like, yeah, I'll tell a story, then um, they're kind of hooked and like, what a cool thing. And then they want to support other storytellers. And then we also, every time, all the storytellers want to bring their friends or family. So it really, like, I kind of wish we had room for 100 more people, because I think maybe we wouldn't be able to totally sell out, but I think we'd be able to pack it even more. Um, but yeah, I'm just thankful. It's almost like it struck a chord. And even for myself, like there's been seasons where I'm like, man, life's too busy. I don't know. And then as soon as we hear like a pitch night, or as soon as I'll go back and listen to a story on our YouTube channel, I'm like, oh, I'm in. Like I got, because it's fun, it's encouraging, it's not a ton of work. That's our whole thing, is like, we all have jobs. Let's
Yeah,
let's do it until it's not fun anymore, and it's still really a lot of fun and super rewarding.
I love it. I love
We
it.
got to get you on stage, Dr. Keith.
I know, I know. That is my biggest fear is getting up on. But I've got my story. It was funny. I just took my mom to her birthday dinner last night, and the things that come out. I mean, if I ever get on Tails and Nails, that's my story. Is my mother. She
Yes,
has
yes.
influenced me so much, and she's the reason I'm here today. So I'm working on it, but I've got lots of material for sure. That's the hard part. That's another question. Do you help the speakers that are telling their stories? Like, if they're like me and they've got all these different things throughout their life, like, do you help them condense their story and make it like a storytelling experience so that they don't have to just get up there and have,
Yes.
verbal,
Yeah, bro. No, great,
yeah.
great question. Like, even frankly, I am really not a good public speaker. I'm a writer, so I had my story written, but during rehearsal, as I was sharing it, thankfully we have storytelling coaches, and they're like, you got to cut like 5 minutes out of this. Get rid of that whole section and keep it focused here.
Yeah.
So it's nice that I've been on that other end of getting those notes and seeing the result of that, like great feedback and putting it to use, or yes, or putting into practice. So we have a rehearsal night, even ahead of rehearsal. If you're like, hey, I want a quick one-on-one coaching session, we'll do, hop on for a quick 15-20 minute call to run through it, and we help find areas to either tighten it up, or we might say, oh gosh, you feel like the more exciting things here, but what about that? Let's explore that more. And so it's a fun process to get it to that stage ready point. It's not a ton of work, but if someone's willing to say, hey, I want to work on getting this better, we're like, cool, let's do it. So it's fun.
Good, because mine's gonna need a lot of help. So I'm gonna need it. Whenever I get up on stage, I'm gonna need the help.
I will say, I am generally terrified of public speaking, and I think Tails and Nails has helped cure that mostly. I feel like it's like a marathon. You're like in the middle of it, you're like, I'm never doing this again. And as soon as you cross the finish line, you're like, when's the next one? When do I sign up? It
Yeah.
really, and one last thought on that, the audience is so, they just are rooting you on because half of them have been up there. The other half, they're just here. They want to hear your story, and they're very, they're not like hecklers. They're just encouraging.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Um, okay.
We'll get you.
Have I want to close with if someone's just starting out, say, with your experience in journalism, or maybe it's the nonprofit arena, what's the most valuable, say someone wants to start their own nonprofit, what's the most valuable piece of advice you could give them?
Hmm. Let's see. I think the biggie, I feel like relationships, and I know we agree on this, relationships are so important. And I think sometimes it's just like running an idea by several people who are leaders in their field, or maybe connected or familiar with Loudoun County or the area you're considering diving into. I remember actually shortly after I started Tails and Nails, I started asking a few business owners who were bit of large businesses, like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe doing like a marketing company with the idea of storytelling, and I got really good advice to not do that because it was like, well, we already kind of have someone, and there's plenty of other people doing that, and I was thankful that they told me that, and I don't think, yeah, great advice. So I didn't do that, and I think I'm thankful that I did at least have the know-how to be like, I'm just gonna pitch this idea to a few people, and I think just opening that window and letting people know, no, please be honest with me. What do you think of this idea? Um, I think that's worth the time before
Yeah.
you throw everything at it. Kind of like, frankly, that one Facebook post in 2018, like, what does everyone think of a storytelling idea? And we got back, heck yes. We're like, okay, let's do it.
The community told you there was a need and you fulfilled the need.
Yes, sorry, I need
Yeah,
beer and stories. But it's been really fun.
great. Do you have any upcoming, does LEF or do you guys have any upcoming projects or, maybe initiatives you'd like to share with our listeners or anything you guys are currently working on now?
Yeah, definitely. Two things that I'll say so it's not too much. October 17th is the LCPS Workforce Summit. Uh, Here we go. We can put this in the thing.
Oh, wow.
And we are partnering with LCPS to put this on. It's a half-day event, but it's really for anyone in the local business community who wants to help create career pathways for students. So it's just bringing your list of here's what I needed in an employee, a future employee, and then brainstorming, working alongside LCPS educators to create coursework in some of those pathways. So that's going to be important October 17th. Everyone's invited. We'll treat you to lunch. And it's a great day of networking as well. The other Tails and Nails, the next show is November 15th at Old Ox Brewery.
Awesome.
tailsandnails.org.
What a great thing because all business owners, I think, will agree with me. We all need more staff. I mean, that's been such a huge. Did you guys feel that demand and that's why you guys are doing that because everyone's having such a hard time hiring or finding help?
Definitely. It's a big vision of the new superintendent, Dr. Spence. Um, we have LCPS has like the academies of Loudoun, but there's only so many seats and it's maxed out with waiting list. But he's thinking, well, gosh, what about the other career fields that students want to go into? Can we want to open up more seats? So we've really, one quick example, LAF brought some of the healthcare leaders to the table, including Inova Loudoun, Cloudmore Charitable Foundation, a few years ago to talk with LCPS educators on what the workforce needs are. And then LAF, we went out and won some grants to help open the new Health and Medical Science Academy that just opened last month. And it's in two wings of one wing of Briarwoods High School and one wing of Tuscarora High School, 9th through 12th grade. So that's been Dr. Spence is saying, well, gosh, let's keep this. Let's do that same model for various career pathways. So that was kind of the vision, and yeah, we're excited just to bring more business leaders to the table.
Yeah, awesome. That's definitely, I'm always talking to other local business owners, and a lot of what we've been hearing the past few years is, yeah, business is going great. I just need more help because as we grow and as we get bigger, I tell my staff all the time, when they're like, so and so called, with an application, are we hiring? I'm like, we are always hiring. We are always in,
Smart,
we
say
are,
that.
we are always we may not always be hired. We are always interviewing. We are always looking for great candidates. So, I'm glad you were able to put
Wow.
that initiative together. That's great. I had no idea about that.
Definitely. Okay, I'll email you after this with the info.
Well, just tell it where if I was interested in where would we go to find that info? Is it
Probably
online
it's a
somewhere?
little bit of a long website, so probably the best thing is to if you follow LEF at LC sorry LEF for LCPS on any social media platform. We keep posting every few days about this.
Okay, cool. Awesome, Danielle. Well, thanks so much for being on the show. I
Thanks
really
for
appreciate
having me.
it. And this
This
was
was great
great.
fun.
Yeah, thanks for being such an awesome person in our community and helping out all our students and all our educators in Loudoun County because you've been absolutely crushing it.
Hey, you are the example of how to work with local nonprofits and local communities and just getting you elevate the whole small business community in Loudoun. So I'm happy to work with you.
Oh, love it.
I'm a
And
pretty good chiropractor too. My back
yeah,
feels better, my ankle feels better. Yeah.
there we go. There we go. Well, if anyone has that needs any info from Danielle, definitely you can find her on her website or on the social media. And yeah, awesome. Thanks for being on.
Well, yeah. Talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye bye.